Hi there, I'm author and freelance writer Melissa May Younger, and I'm going to talk to you about the differences between self-publishing and traditional publishing and help you to figure out which one might be the right choice for you and your book right now based on your goals. Speaking of goals, let's talk about why you want to publish your book. So first, do you want to make money? Do you want to become a famous author or a thought leader? Do you want to just kind of put your voice out into the world? Or do you want to help others through your writing? Maybe you're more inspirational. While you're thinking about your goals, I'm going to address the first goal by throwing some numbers at you to paint a picture of the reality of your earnings. If you self-publish on Amazon, you will end up keeping a larger percentage of the profit from each book sale, as much as 70%. But that is after you deduct printing costs. If you had a plain text interior and you were selling your 100-page book for $10, you might make around $4 per book. That's what I average on my children's books. However, if you have costs from editing and formatting your book, or if you hired a book cover designer, then you want to deduct those costs from your sales, your total sales, to get your net profit. And good editing costs around $6 per page, and each page is considered about 250 words. So if you just take your manuscript length, divide it by 250, you'll get your page count, multiply that by $6, and that's about what a good editor is going to charge you. Now, you could go with a very cheap editor, but you might not get the best editing job. If you have a short 25,000 word book, it could end up costing you $600 to have that edited. And if you had a 50,000 word book, that could cost $1,200 or more. And formatting will cost at least several hundred. And a good book cover could cost around $100. So when you add all those numbers up, you're going to see quickly that you're going to need to make a lot of book sales in order to make this worth your while. And to make good book sales, you're going to have to do marketing, which means that you're going to either have to learn how to do the marketing yourself, which takes a lot of time, or you're going to need to hire someone, and that's an additional cost. So you want to consider all of those costs and that you're doing everything yourself, or you're managing all of those parts yourself when you decide to self-publish. Now, I have some resources to help you find these services down below. And one of the services that I offer as a freelancer includes basic book formatting. So hopefully that can help you to get started. Now, however, if you get an agent and you work with a publishing company, if you're going the traditional route, neither one of those will charge you anything upfront. In fact, the publishing company will pay you in advance. In advance is a sum that they pay the author upfront based on the number of book sales that they think you might make. Now, if someone is saying that they're a publishing company and they are charging you money to publish your book, don't go with them. They're not a full-on publishing company, okay? What they are is they're an independent publisher who is using your book to help them make money. And you might make a profit there, but I'll leave that up to you. Then, okay, after the publishing company gives you in advance, then you'll get a royalty. Basically, this is an itty-bitty percentage of each book sale after the book has earned out its advance. Now, I'm throwing a lot of terminology at you. I'm going to explain those by giving you an example. Okay, so let's say a publisher is confident that your book will sell, and they give you a $5,000 advance as a new author. Now, if your book costs $10 and you were promised this is a generous royalty, 10%, you would need to sell 5,000 copies of your book before you would start receiving any of the royalty. In this case, after you sold 5,000 copies of your book, you would earn $1 per book you sell after that. Now, these numbers are higher if you are a well-established author, but when you're starting out, you're not likely to get a generous advance or royalty on your first book because you're a risk. They haven't tested out the market on your work. Nobody knows about you yet. In fact, you could start at a royalty as low as 3 or 5%. Now, the nice thing about traditional publishers is that they usually have their own editors and book cover creators, and they will cover all the costs. The other good news is if your book is a flop and you don't earn out your advance, you still get to keep the $5,000 or whatever they paid you up front. So as you can see here, if you sold 100 books, this is to help us compare self-publishing and traditional. You can see that self-publishing, you would not, again, this is the 100-page book example I gave of plain text. So you're probably not going to make a profit here, okay? Because your costs of self-publishing are probably going to be higher than $400. So you're going to be in the red if you only sold 100 books. Now, if you went the traditional route, you would get your advance, but you would not have earned out that advance, not even close. And the publishing company would be the one who would be in the red, and you just would not receive any royalty, okay? Now, if you sold 5,000 books, which is pretty good, then you would earn $20,000 in self-publishing sales minus the costs of publishing. So let's say your costs of publishing were like $3,000, okay? But then you would walk away with $17,000. And you should consider all the work that you put into writing it too, okay? Because your time is valuable. And so just divide up that $17,000 over the amount of time you put into the book to kind of see, was this worth it? Did it pay me well? And now if you went the traditional route here, you would walk away with your $5,000 advance, but no royalty because at 5,000 books, earning a 10% royalty, you would only walk away, that you would just break even basically. So the publishing company gets their money, you get yours, everybody's happy, but maybe the publishing company is a little sad because they didn't make that much money off of your book, okay? And now, if you sold 10,000, then you can see here, you would earn maybe $40,000. And you would subtract the cost of publishing from that. If you, again, had spent $3,000, now this is looking more attractive, right? And over here on the traditional route, you would have your $5,000 advance, which had been earned out at 5,000 books. And you would also have a $5,000 royalty now on top of that with the extra 5,000 books that you sold. Now, if you sold 50,000 books, and this is doing very well, then here's how much you might earn minus the cost of publishing. So now you're into six figures over here in the self-publishing route. And over here in traditional, you are still in 5 figures, right? You're going to get $50,000. So you can see if you can figure out how to self-publish really well and how to get your book out there and how to find people who really want to buy your book, and you can make some really good sales, then self-publishing, could be a very lucrative option if that's one of your goals. Now, traditional publishing can be better for you, however, if you are not willing to spend any money up front. If you are wanting somebody else to do all the marketing and find an editor, if you're wanting them to come up with a book cover for your book, if you want somebody else to do all that work for you, then you might want to go with the traditional publishing route. Okay. And sometimes they can help you to market your book better than you would be able to figure out how to do. However, I will say this, a lot of traditional publishers now, they want authors who come to them to already have a following, and that following could be online. That following could be in their business sector, wherever that is, okay? You need to have some kind of following already built up that you have in place to market to. And that's because traditional publishers don't want to take as much of a risk on you because, as you can see, the self-publishing market has become extremely competitive with the traditional publishing route. So that's just a little bit about the financial side of things. In my next video, I'm going to talk about other types of goals you might have. And those could include if you want to become a famous author or a thought leader, if you want to put your voice out into the world, and if you want to help others through your writing. You might also want to have more creative control over your work. So I'm going to talk about all that stuff in my next video that is going to compare self-publishing and traditional publishing.